In what ways does your media product use, develop or challenge forms and conventions of real media products? I decided to produce a hip-hop music magazine as my chosen genre. My reason for choosing this particular genre was because I am very familiar with this style of music due to listening to it and reading the genre of magazine beforehand. This meant I already had a wide range of background knowledge which could be applied to my final product of a magazine, as I could easily relate to it. Before starting my magazine, I believed it was important to analyse existing hip-hop music magazines. From doing this analysis, I found many similar conventions on the majority of hip-hop music magazines. Firstly, I identified the convention of sans serif masthead and cover lines on the magazine's front cover, such as Vibe and The Source. I decided to use this convention as it showed readers that it was a young and modern magazine through the use of typography, which is why I chose to use criticised font. By doing this, it connoted to the reader that this content inside would be about modern day and upcoming hip-hop artists, for example Kendrick Lamar and Lil Wayne, rather than old hip-hop artists such as Tupac or Notorious B.I.G. Another convention I identified was the masthead had been positioned across the top of the majority of the hip-hop magazine's front cover, with part of the main image slightly covering the masthead. I decided to use this convention due to it being successful for existing hip-hop magazines such as XXL and Vibe. By allowing part of their main image to slightly cover the masthead, connoted that these magazines are well established as their audience can automatically recognise this magazine, which resulted in the whole masthead not needing to be shown. Therefore, I chose to adapt this convention into my magazine by having the masthead, underground, positioned across the top of my magazine with my main image slightly covering it. This is because it is a well-known convention for this genre of music magazines. That would mean my magazine is following the hip-hop magazine house style by using this well-known convention for the style of magazines. Moreover, another well-known convention I recognised through analysing existing hip-hop magazines was that the main image on the front cover was a mid-long shot. I decided to challenge this convention by using a mid-close-up for my image on my front cover. By challenging this convention, I am going to make mine more unique. I decided to use a mid-close-up as it showed my chosen genre to the readers quickly when looking at the page through the use of costume and facial expressions. The costume I chose to use for my model to wear was very stereotypical of hip-hop. This is shown through the use of chains, which connoted wealth, and a baseball hat, which represented the urban look. However, a convention I did follow was the use of the person on the main image having direct eye contact with the reader by looking straight into the camera. This connoted that he is a confident and boastful character through holding the chain and having the eye contact with the reader. Another use of having direct eye contact with the reader is it shows that he is directly addressing the audience. This is important to me as it involves the reader to read on. When I was analysing existing hip-hop music magazines, I was also looking at how frequent and expensive they were. I identified that the majority of these existing magazines were produced monthly, other than Hip Hop Weekly, which is produced weekly. However, I believe this particular magazine is produced weekly as its content contains hip-hop gossip that changes every day rather than the interviews or articles about artists. Therefore, I chose to follow the convention of making my magazine monthly as the majority of the content contains interviews and articles. Down to my magazine being monthly, it meant I could charge more for it, resulting in a higher quality magazine being produced for the reader. Furthermore, from sending questionnaires to a range of people, 57% of my research audience said they would pay £4 or more for a monthly magazine, which suggested to me that this was a reasonable amount to sell my magazine at. Another convention I'd heard to use was the use of anchoring a headline to the main image on the front cover. I chose to follow this convention as I believed it was important, as it indicated to the reader what headline the main image was linked to, as well as telling the reader that this is the main story. By doing this, it will attract more attention to the main article by having an image anchored to the headline. A convention I did follow was on my double page spread through the use of using size 12 typography for my body text. This convention is followed in every magazine, no matter what house style or genre they are. The reason for using this particular size 12 typography was because it is not too big nor too small, which makes it easily readable for everyone. However, a convention I did challenge was the use of not using a professional background on my front cover image, as many other existing hip-hop magazines did. The reason I challenged this convention was I believed it made my magazine look unprofessional, as you could clearly tell that I had cut my model away from the background. I believe the use of using the original background of a blue metal garage on the images helped support my genre, as it gave the image a more urban look. My content page went against all conventions I had seen when doing my textual analysis. To begin with, I tried to adapt the style that meant other hip-hop magazines followed by using one main mid-long shot image, which had been faded into the background. However, when doing this, I believed my house style did not look as if it had been followed onto the contents page, due to this image being very bright with a white background, whereas the rest of the images in my magazine had dark original backgrounds. By this happening, I decided to recreate my contents page to make it look more unique. I believe trying something new would work for my audience, as they were of a young age range that would be willing to see change. Therefore, I chose to follow a more modern contents page look like Hip Hop Weekly and adapt it to my magazine house style.